Hello, everyone. My name is Michał Purzyński. I'm a security engineer, part of the enterprise information security team in Mozilla, makers of the Firefox browser. I hope that literally everyone here has Firefox set as a default browser. If not, I will hope that this will change after this talk, maybe. So I'm going to present a very example incident. It's kind of like a summary of several incidents that might or might not happen. Obviously, the incident that I'm going to present here has never happened, at least not in this form. And if it's similar to anybody or anything that you have heard or known, it's a pure coincidence. So I hope there is no Julia on the stage. If there is some Julia on the stage, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean no harm. I just selected a random name. So the story goes like this. It is a deep afternoon in San Francisco, and our security operations center, which is something that monitors Mozilla security 24 hours per 7, all around the clock in several time zones, what they do is they notice this interesting alert. This alert tells them that there was a geo-model heuristic that detected a movement of administrator account. Someone logged into the administrator account from Russia. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay, like, there is nothing wrong about it. But what we can see, and I guess you can tell what is wrong with this alert and why this alert is actually an alert. She moved from San Francisco to Moscow in 4 hours. So what we're dealing with here is a sysadmin who is on a PTO, so taking some kind of like a vacation. She traveled half a world, 15,000 kilometers or so, only to log in back to Mozilla. Now, okay, this never happens, right? Administrators never log in back to from the PTO, obviously. But in 4 hours from Moscow kind of raises suspicions, like, how did she do it? Like, did she board USS Enterprise or something? I don't know. So the first thing that the Security Operations Center does is they are trying to locate Julia and actually ask her, hey, are you in Moscow? And how did you do it? So they are trying to talk to her. Her phone is completely offline. They cannot get in touch. She is offline. She's not on Slack IRC and about 50,000 of other communication protocols that we use. So they are escalating it to the Julia's manager, asking this manager if Julia is actually in Moscow. And manager is like, oh, I don't know anything about it. Like, she's on a PTO, she should be right here in California. She's definitely not in Moscow. So they engage an incident response team. And this is what the incident response team usually does in Mozilla. I could probably play this slide and just walk away, would be fine. One more time. So yeah, that's basically us. We start identification process. Like, we want to answer the question, what actually happened? So what we can see is a bunch of SSH sessions within the last 24 hours has been opened as Julia. Some of these sessions are actually alive. Some of these sessions are to public host. At least one of them is to public host from the internet, from indeed IP that looks like in Moscow. Problem is, some of these systems require MFA and are deep in internal network. You cannot SSH into them from the internet. You have to jump through several hoops to actually get there. So I'm like, wait a sec, has someone compromised the corporate MFA? Because, you know, someone could get hands of Julia's SSH key, but the second factor, now it actually starts looking really bad if you look at the servers that were compromised. And you obviously, I cannot tell which company it was, but everyone knows who was targeted and whose second factor was compromised at some point, some other company somewhere. So we are like, we are not this level. It is very unlikely that someone actually went to this extent. I'm starting to look through the alerts that we have, through all kinds of information that we have about Julia from like last week. What I have noticed is, unfortunately, a warning that Julia SSH into one of the sensitive hosts, sensitive enough that this host is actually being, let's say, it's built, it runs a code, no one ever should be SSHing into it. Oh, wow. We are back? Not. Okay, I know what it is. I think I have just fixed the HDMI connection with the phone. Awesome. Incident response in the process. So we noticed that Julia SSH into some sensitive servers that should not be even managing. Why she actually had account of those, it's a separate story. But it has been missed. No one actually acted on this. It's called alerts fatigue. Like when you have too many alerts, guess what happens? So we made the decision to kick them out, and that's what we do. So first of all we did was Julia's account has been locked. We do not remove the account. I noticed that in many cases, people, what they do is drop a nuclear bomb, and they are like, let's wipe every trace of this compromised person, every trace of this compromised administrator from our systems. You should not be doing it. If you do it, you will lose some data about how the attack actually took place. You want to inspect Julia's account. We have logged the MFA where we suspect might be compromised or not. And we are on to what? Surprise. Question, does anyone know what is the most important moment when you actually need alerts? So I'm answering to my question. The most important point is during the incident. That's when you want to have alerts. So we quickly deploy alerts like this. After disabling Julia's account, there should be no trace of her, right? No process should be running as her. We actually killed those processes that were running, and we deployed alert. Should something respawn, should something start automatically from some compromised system as her ID, we would know about it. I actually used my own ID here because we have like several similar alerts. And we are on to trying to understand, okay, what actually happened? Now, there is this problem that we are dealing with Mozilla. This is not so much a huge organization, but we have like 10 servers per every person. I mean, we have like 1,200 people, but maybe like 10,000 servers or 12,000 servers. No one really knows because some of them are like spot instances in the cloud. Problem is, there are many operation teams. There are many different teams. Sometimes they have all of the incident response tools deployed, sometimes they don't. Most of them forward syslog, some of them even to us. That's nice, thank you. Most have auditing enabled, some don't. Most have MIG, which stands for Mozilla Investigator, and I will be showing it later what is it all about. Okay, I'm like, let's play. Yeah, like I said, doing incident response in Mozilla is actually very interesting. Data centers, 10 offices or more, several different clouds, many intended or independent operation teams, also several security operation groups. So our people are everywhere. So incident response in Mozilla looks pretty much like this. You have this haystack, and we are looking for a needle, a single one. Good luck doing it. It's a challenging environment. And we are trying to tell the story. We are trying to tell the story the way every investigator would try to tell the story, when this investigator actually finds like a person on a sidewalk, dead unfortunately, and he's trying to understand what actually happened, trying to recreate, let's say, the recent 24 hours going from the end to the beginning. So that's what we do. We start several Kibana queries. And first of all, what we do is looking for every session opened as Julia in like the past week or so. Second, and this is like the very interesting one, you can see this exec VE, line number 2, line number 3. This comes from Auditd. We have the ability on almost every our system to trace every execution of every binary that we have. So we want to know what actions Julia actually did in the past 48 hours on every possible server that she had access to. We also are trying to think in a very unconventional way, because in a highly distributed organization, it might happen that she logged in as Julia to some account, to some server somewhere, but she might be logging as root because she has her key in a keychain of the root, which should be forbidden, but sometimes it's not, because some developer team actually has like a test system somewhere, and they don't really restrict anything like this. So we look for Julia's SSH key fingerprint, the SSH key fingerprint in every SSH log that we have on our disposal in our log system. We try to go through like NSN log, make process search, everything, or like several different operating systems, Linux, Windows, OS 10, you name it. We want to recreate everything that she did in like the past week. So what we know for now is, let's say there are like 3 hosts on the slide. It was actually many more. And Julia is logged into like several servers. Okay, we got these servers, we know what they are. I called them boring hosts because they were like nothing special, at least. Although there's this service host on the bottom, and you will see why is it important. The question to ask right now is where from? Okay, monitoring host. Well, of course, there was, let's say, I don't want to call the name, so I will say Nagios. And there was this system who has like a lot of access because it's monitoring other systems. It's also monitoring SSH connections to various systems all around the world. So it was permitted to open SSH connection to many systems. Now, to make it clear, it did not have privileges, it did not have any keys on disk to be able to log on these systems, but it had privileges to bypass firewall rules, because it's monitoring, so it should have access to everything, right? And attackers found this host, and what is very interesting, they knew exactly what they are going for. But how they did get to the monitoring host? Okay, from some other random host, sitting in the same VLAN. How did they get on the same VLAN? From a public host. It is a so-called Bastion admin host, and we discovered that entire incident started with like the clean SSH login to the Bastion host from a trusted subnet. They did not require MFA. Okay. So attackers jump from a public host to a private host to a more private host to monitoring host, and laterally moved throughout our network. This is the picture that we are building. And to be honest, 20 minutes in a presentation, I could be like, you know, nothing to see here. This does not look bad. Hosts are kind of boring. We kicked our attackers. We know exactly how they got into the network. We have confirmation from several different log sources, Auditd, SSH logs. As you can see, nothing spectacular right now, all the boring old stuff that basically works, you know. There is no sensitive data on them. We will reinstall every host, like case closed. That's what I thought. What are you looking at right now is an example log from the PROIDEA. Thank you for the Cisco for telling that it is not like your bro, but it's like PROIDEA from bro can see everything in your network if it's deployed correctly. So we have this passive monitoring system, and I will be talking about it in a few minutes. But basically, this log says that a service host, which was one of the hosts that had this intrusion from the Julia user, from the rogue Julia user, had SSH connection open to a sensitive system over 3 hours long, outside of expected hours. By expected hours, I mean this service host should not have any SSH connection opened at this time, but it had 3 hours. If it has some connections opened, it usually should be like half a minute or so. It just logs in somewhere, does what it's supposed to be doing, uploads some files, fetches some files, and it closes the connection. And here you can see 10,000 seconds. So someone actually had like a very long session. Okay. Bro is also nice enough to tell me it was an SSH connection. It recognized the connection. I went through other logs, and this is how we identified what really happened. So I'm like, I'm going back to this service host because someone was clearly messing up with it. It started opening some interesting connections, right? So I look at what attackers were doing on the service host using Auditd execv logging. So like I said, we log every execution on every system that we have Auditd installed, and we ship it to Mozdev. It's several thousand events per second from entire infrastructure. It is probably the most valuable several thousand events per second one could ever have. And what we see here, so attackers found GDB, and they tried to attach to a process which has stored some credentials to other systems. Those credentials are not on disk, but those credentials were in memory. So what attackers did here, they looked throughout this host, looking for some credentials. They found this process, and they are trying to dump memory. And they succeeded, because you can see after a several execv, there is write yet another, well, okay, there were, I think, the name of the process here next to write is the process writing, not the output file. But they basically wrote some output file somewhere and exfiltrated using like base64 and some cool tools, uploaded to the host credentials from the service host. Now the problem is some of the hosts looking at the IDS logs did not forward syslog to us. So how are we supposed to know how attackers used those credentials to move laterally to some other parts of the infrastructure? Some smart person credentials below the pyramid, they actually did something very interesting that probably most of the security community saw so far. You can trace attackers using hash values, domain names, IP addresses. The more to the top of this pyramid you go, the more challenging it is for the attacker to change it. So it's very easy for attacker to change hash values, and then you cannot trace these old hash values anymore. It's fairly easy to change IP addresses that are used as, for example, command and control servers. It's more difficult to change the domain names. I will say if you want to cry, you know, a reference to like the recent malware, you should probably hardcode something into malware. That's how they ended up. So sometimes domain names are hard-coded into tools, so it's not easy to actually change them. What we decided is we are going after the tools, and we are going after TTP, which is tactics, tools, procedures, I think something like this. So basically trying to trace attacker actions, not some specific hosts or IP addresses our compromised hosts were talking to. And what we see, mostly, not on every host, but on most hosts, attacker executed something like a sequence. They probably had like a bash script they use for recon. So once they actually get the shell, they upload the bash script, and this bash script does some kind of like a recon. So they try to do some scanning, a smart scanning, only like 4 ports. I alert on scans like this with NSM, but hey, you know, not on 4 ports. So they try to remain under the radar. They try to attach to various sensitive processes. They use find and cut like crazy, looking after every sensitive information. And they TCP dump some traffic entering and going out from the server to better understand what this server does. This kind of fingerprinting revealed some other sensitive hosts that were not sending syslog to us, so we would not know how to trace if these hosts were actually owned, but we found them using this kind of methodology. And the full picture is here. So what they did here, a clean SSH login, lateral movement through several hosts. Finally, they reached this sensitive host on this sensitive service host right on the very bottom, exfiltrating credentials from there, and using those credentials to log into sensitive hosts. Now, there is a problem. Those sensitive stuff, it has MFA enforced. Remember the MFA that I told you at the beginning about? Like, I was constantly wondering for like 24 hours how they bypassed MFA. Turns out, MFA is good for you if MFA means MFA all the time and no exceptions. If you have host that requires MFA for every administrative interface, but someone forgot to require it from SSH, or SSH also requires MFA, but there is this one little trusted host, this red one, that can be used as a source, and it's trusted enough, so the yellow one will not enforce MFA from it. Well, this is how you bypass it. Turns out you don't need like $1 million attack on your MFA, you just need to find several exceptions. What I also saw that attackers got hands on MFA token generation keys, fortunately developer generation keys, but they were looking specifically for integration kind of keys that could be used to generate new MFA tokens just for attackers, so they could authenticate using MFA as a legit user. They were looking for it, could not find it, because this kind of keys is not what we store on systems, but they were looking for those keys. We saw the names that they were using, and they finally found some developer keys. After they tried using developer keys to generate MFA token, our geolocate alert popped up, and we are back at the beginning of the story. So what we know from internet as Julia, lateral movement as Julia, then they could not authenticate to sensitive hosts. They hit the wall and switched to a special one trusted host somewhere in the network, exfiltrated credentials from it, logged to some other special host, and this is where we actually noticed them. And it had to be very difficult for this attacker, and I'm feeling bad for them in a way, because we dropped the bomb as they logged into this sensitive host very quickly. So it probably was very surprising to them because they were not able to exfiltrate anything. Case closed, right? Not yet. So this is where our kind of logs also are kind of valuable. I look onto the NSM logs again, and again, I can see SSH communication from several sensitive hosts after we have reinstalled all the hosts that we knew about. Those sensitive hosts actually have SSH opened somewhere to, this is Amazon IP range. It's SSH, it's a reverse tunnel, opened from hosts that we have neither syslog nor Auditd, but it turns out they install some kind of like a backdoor. Okay, so you correlate your syslog data with Auditd data, with NSM data, and this is how you discover other compromised hosts. I have like a demo or two. I am not presenting from my own computer, but I will be switching to several different tabs in Firefox, and Firefox being the best browser on the planet, I hope it will work. Give me a second. So other tools. Why I'm telling this story? I'm telling this story to present tools. I didn't want to like come up here and say, tool 1, these are the features. Tool 2, these are the features. Half of you is already sleeping. Tool 3, everyone is sleeping. No way. So NSM, it is my baby, kind of. Like I deployed PROIDEA, Suricata IDS, and NetSniff for full packet capture. Like the Cisco presenter told at the very beginning, if you have full packet capture, your life is so much easier. And I can say it is so much easier. We actually dump a lot of even internal traffic. I have deployed in on like several continents, every office, data center, cloud. We have like 25 sensors, one of the biggest installations for Bro. We used to be processing like 60 gigs per second of data, so that's quite a lot. We don't use it as you would usually use IDS. Usually the IDS deployment is like, I've got IDS, it got 20,000 rules, it catches malware, that's what it does, end of story. I mean, it also catches malware for us, and we have 20,000 rules, but we also use it for all of these things that you can read yourself. But some interesting things like heuristics, things that are like out of place. Why is this clear text MySQL communication from this subnet to this subnet if the corporate policy is to encrypt everything, even in the internal network? Or in incident response, the session logs that you saw previously, for digital forensic, for incident response, for scan detection, for tracing long connections, for tracing connections that send a lot of bytes, for basically looking at things that are out of the place on a network level. Quick diagram. I know there is a Gigamon person somewhere here. We use Arista. And we have optical tabs and every possible place on the planet in the network where I can put tabs. I'm putting tabs there. I'm sending traffic to Bro, to Suricata, to NetSniff. I do it at offices, at the data center. As you can see, we tap traffic coming to the load balancers, internal traffic between core and firewall. We even tap traffic that flows from VLAN A to B. Not just the traditional IDS deployment north-south, but more like we want to see every piece of traffic, after obviously some filtering for some noisy traffic. I am not switching to Suricata rules. I'm not on my laptop, but I will show you something else. I'm just showing an example PROIDEA script. Probably some of you might never, maybe some of you have never seen it. It's actually pretty scary. I mean, the language is not so friendly as it could be, but you know, Like I said, our NSM is very unusual. We have like 40 or 50 bro scripts. If you want these scripts, talk to me. They're on GitHub. They're on a public repository. We are more than happy to share them with you. This is like several lines of code. What it does, it will detect a long string on a long version string on SSH client. There used to be malware that encoded very interesting information. Command and control channel basically was done with like the SSH client version. A very low throughput communication channel, but an interesting one. With Bro, you can detect something like this in like 10 lines. This is also interesting, if I can find it. Bro can also work as kind of like a poor man's WAF, I mean, in a way. You can have signatures, and you can put it in front of the load balancer, and it will be, or behind the load balancer after you terminate SSL. And you can look for like patterns, kind of like a WAF does. You can do some very interesting correlation here. Let me find one more script. Detecting of open proxies. We have some proxies that should not be open from the internet, but what we have noticed, some Python frameworks, some different kind of frameworks sometimes allow some other host to access host behind it. So we put in place the detection to say whenever host A sends a request through our web system that reaches some yet another internal system that it should not be reaching to, we can detect that this system has been used like an open proxy to our internal subnet. Another interesting tool is Audisp-JSON and Sysmon. Unfortunately, I don't have any Sysmon logs here, but Sysmon is a very useful Windows tool. This is like, if you have like one piece of application to install on every Windows server, please do install Sysmon and enable execution logging. With execution logging with Sysmon, you get the same functionality as we have on Audisp-JSON, which is a plugin for Auditd that logs every execution of the Linux system. And yeah, you can intercept and let yourself know about like interesting system calls, like who is executing TCP dumps on a production system. No one should be, but you might want to know it. Or someone is writing to specific files or directories. You really want to know where attacker has been writing to your /sb/sshd, for example. You want to know about every command that attacker executed. If you have this per installed Sysmon Audisp-JSON, unless the attacker is killing those processes, everything should be fine, and you should know. And also, Sysmon on Windows is so much better than even logs from Windows natively built in. If I'm wrong about it, and I'm not a Windows expert, please feel free to correct me. Yeah, and one of our central monitoring tools is MozDef, which stands for like Mozilla Defense. We log about 300 million events per day. Might be a lot, might not be. If you are like one of the larger companies, it's not. But very soon we are adding several more log sources, so we will be shipping 10,000 events per second. I really like to talk about MozDef, so I could totally like mega talk about MozDef like nothing else. It's the world's first fully programmable security information event monitoring system, because everything is in Python. So we don't use like Logstash, whatever. We use Elasticsearch. Yeah, of course, everyone uses Elasticsearch. We have some Python code, Meteor for front end, Kibana, everyone uses Kibana. And everything is a code. Like, you know, this statement, infrastructure as a code, why not every security infrastructure as a code? Why not every alert as a Python code? If you want to, you don't have to. I will show you how the alert in a Python code looks like if we have time. You can build alerts in JSON, you can build alerts in Python, depending what you want to achieve. We have plugins for everything. We process data as we want. You can, for example, have a piece of information coming from several systems. These pieces of information are correlated in Python, sent to our system, and this system says, pager duty information to Security Operations Center so they can handle it. A public release or MozDev 2.0 will be very, very soon. On GitHub there is 1.0, but we have rewritten basically entire code, so a public release will be soon. And the last tool, is the interesting one, is MIC. It's a privacy-centric endpoint monitoring. By privacy-centric, I say it's very different from, you probably heard about like Google GRR, Google, or the Facebook, forgot the name, but they also have something for endpoint monitoring. With MIC, the huge difference is MIC has been designed in mind with, first of all, let's do no harm. Like, if attacker could use MIC to compromise some servers, this is not acceptable for us. So we will sacrifice some of the investigative capabilities, but we don't want to sacrifice on the security of our systems if we want this piece of software to run everywhere. There are some other endpoint monitoring tools, but some of them have so many privileges, you can actually use them to compromise system. If an attacker can use security tool to compromise system, you may want to rethink your security, I'm just saying. Just a giant diagram, I will not be spending time on it, but basically MIC infrastructure, you want to deploy entire MIC infrastructure like this part, you can do it with like a single Ansible command. We have playbooks on the internet. It will build everything for you in AWS, and you can deploy MIC in 10 minutes. MIC is accessible from internet with authentication over SSL and GPG. Every action is signed, and actions are filtered on the host, so you cannot extract data. You can ask MIC, hey, is this Purzyński who just been fired from Mozilla after giving a terrible talk at Confidence on any of our servers? And someone from my colleagues, former colleagues would be, could be like, I can probably take a look using MIC if he is in etc passwd file and find the systems that have not removed me correctly. You can find something in memory, but the important difference is you cannot use MIC to extract files. You cannot tell, hey MIC, send me a file from this report from the CEO laptop. You cannot do it. You can look for files by name, for content in the files, for content in memory, open connections, IOCs, you name it. But you cannot really harm the system in any way. We use MIC on every other server, and we don't yet use MIC on the client's laptops outside of IT. There is a pilot program in IT, and we will be extending MIC to everyone in Mozilla. Let me show you actually how MIC works. This is a live demo, and everyone prays to the demo gods or something. But there is no live demo. That's too bad. Maybe this one. I don't know if it's visible, but it basically shows that MIC is, from a user perspective, just a command line tool, kind of like very simple to use. Find device by MAC address, not a problem. Specific USB device connected to anyone's laptop, not a problem. Systems running some kind of applications, you got this name of the Trojan, you want to know where it's running and it's not hiding using kernel facilities. It might be, but it's not, and it's visible in the process table, not a problem. You can locate system on the map. You can measure security compliance with MIC. This is interesting. We have like a set of tests that every system should pass. Are connections encrypted? Is SSH as root disallowed? And so on and so forth. MIC actually tests these systems every few hours and reports back to us, and we build this measure security compliance dashboard. So we can go to this system administrator. We can be like, okay, you have allowed everyone to log in as root using password. That's not good, and here's why. So we will catch these cases. What else do we have? Oh, so what we have here is a demo of MozDev, and this demo actually works. Okay. Basically, an alert screen. Basically, the alert screen that our Security Operations Center and our incident response people use. You can get some contextual information about each and every alert that is here. You can use it, for example, to block from here. Not a problem. You can open a new investigation. You take alert and you open investigation. From the investigation, you can open incident. We have some forensic capabilities here, so you can access contextual information, so people could cooperate. And we have this. This is like the best part of MozDev, obviously. So this is our representation of attackers. Don't ask me why these are augurs. Even better, don't ask me why someone actually made a decision if the attacker has not been blocked and identified yet, but we know he's like brute forcing SSH. He is naked. He's not wearing anything, almost. And when we block the attacker, identify him, then this attacker actually has some kind of like a clothes on him, you know? That's basically what it is. So if you ban someone, you can see that some of them are actually wearing some kind of like shield. Yeah, you can locate system on a map. So yeah, that's basically MozDev. And quickly, lessons learned from the incident that never happened. The most important stuff will be, if you have a tech debt, it will bite you. It will. And exceptions will be found by attacker. Attackers will use them against you. If attacker has credentials, they don't use 0 days, and you have probably 300 days, which is how I call systems not patched from like a year. So while reading Hacker News, it's very interesting to learn about all these cool, very interesting tools from NSA, but, you know. Do you have your network map? Because your attacker does have a network map. Many of these threat actors actually look like a legit sysadmin. Good luck correlating events. And you'd better have your infrastructure, security infrastructure like a fortress, because it will be found. An attacker will be tracing your actions in the security event monitoring system as you proceed through the investigation to learn what you learned about them. Best investment ever. MozDev, Audisp-JSON, open source tool, Bro, NSM, ideas, you know, Suricata, NetSniff. So basically, I will finish up with this. We are killing your kill chain with our kill chain. Questions? It actually did a lot, because I started as a not even like a security engineer, but like a network engineer. And then I kind of like moved to security as the client demand grow, and I was starting to learn like Snort and Suricata. And then after I deployed like this large project, brought Suricata, everything, and it worked, I started working on myself on responding to incidents. And now I'm responsible for responding to incidents throughout Mozilla, throughout like various groups. So it had a huge impact. Any further questions? Awesome, thanks a lot. We have some swag from Mozilla, but this swag has been given to the confidence people, and they know how to distribute it. So, you know, if you want to get some swag from Mozilla, talk to Marta, she's got it. We've got like stickers, we've got some protectors from the people spying you through your camera, these sliders that you attach to your laptop to show that you are from security. And we have some t-shirt and some hoodies, yeah, whatever. Oh, this is not. This is the slide. So this actually answers your question, right? Because that's what people think about me. This is what I do in the night. Thanks a lot.